Good afternoon, dear colleagues. My name is Diana, and today I will be talking about the Uyghurs. Let me start by saying that I am no expert, and my only purpose here is to raise awareness about a topic that you won't hear about in the news or the mainstream media. During my speech, I will be mentioning a few specific words, such as internment camp, 3D identification imagery, DNA sampling, iris scanner, and so on. And I will also mention some specific names, such as Xi Jinping and Xinjiang. My speech starts now. Dear colleagues, who are the Uyghurs? The Uyghurs are Turkic-speaking Muslims from the Central Asian region. The largest population lives in China's autonomous Xinjiang region in the country's northwest. The Uyghurs are one of several persecuted Muslim minorities in Xinjiang, including the Kazakhs, Uzbeks, Tajiks, Kyrgyz, and other communities. Many Uyghur communities also live in countries neighboring China, such as Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Kazakhstan. China's President Xi Jinping has overseen a hardline approach towards Muslim minorities living in Xinjiang, especially the Uyghurs. In recent years, the government has installed sophisticated surveillance technology across the region, and there has also been a surge in police numbers. Harsh new legal penalties have been introduced to limit the Islamic identity and also practice, banning, among other things, long beards, headscarves, the religious instruction of children, and even Islamic-sounding names. These are also a set of criteria to detain them. What is the history behind this discrimination? The People's Republic of China annexed Xinjiang in 1949. At this time, it was estimated that the Uyghur numbered around 76% of the region's population. Han Chinese, which is the country's majority ethnic group, accounted just for 6.2%, with other minority groups making up the remaining total. Since 1949, Han migration to the region has changed this ethnic ratio, and official statistics show that the population is now made up of 42% Uyghurs and 40% Han. Now, China has struggled for decades to control Xinjiang, where hundreds of people, including Uyghurs and Han Chinese, have died in violent attacks, reprisals, and race riots. To the Uyghurs, this area is not Xinjiang, which is the name that Chinese colonialists forced them to use, but is Turkestan, a name which is actually banned in China. Brutal crackdowns in the 80s and the 90s led to significant numbers of Uyghurs fleeing China to seek asylum. In fact, some 50,000 Uyghurs live in Turkey. What is the current situation? Well, in recent decades, Beijing has recast the Uyghur ethnic group as a terrorist collective, and this has allowed Beijing to justify its transformation of Xinjiang into a surveillance state. There has also been a marked rise of Islamophobia across China. Some Uyghurs have been employed by the state to spy on other Uyghurs, reporting any suspicious or illegal behavior. This includes, for example, if someone has given up smoking, refuses to drink alcohol, or even if a Uyghur refuses to watch Chinese news broadcast. More than 20% of all arrests in China happen in this region. Beijing's surveillance includes face and voice recognition, iris scanner, DNA sampling, and 3D identification imagery of Uyghurs. Uyghur activists exposed evidence of nearly 500 camps in northwest China. More than 1 million Uyghur Muslims are allegedly detained in internment camps in an attempt to erase their identity and culture, which the Chinese government calls an ideological virus. Recent data have identified more than 100 Uyghur intellectuals, including writers, poets, journalists, and university professors, who are now among those detained. And the persecution of intellectuals who speak out against oppression and continue traditional practice occurs even if they are moderate in their views and working towards reconciliation. Beijing has repeatedly lied to the world about the region and claims that all these detention centers are for vocational training and that they teach Mandarin and job skills, but leaked documents characterize them as political re-education centers and show that they're run like prisons. The education is focused on daily indoctrination into communist ideology and attempts at eradicating minority culture, language, and religion. Parents are separated from their children, and some of them undergo torture and other human rights abuses. Women are forced to take off their headscarves, and recent research show that they have actually been forcibly subjected to methods of birth control. And as a result, some of them just attempt suicide. Last August, a video sent by a Uyghur young man who worked previously as a model and got later arrested gives a rare glimpse inside internment and provides an extremely rare first-hand account of China's highly secure and secretive detention system, sent directly from the inside. Holding the camera with his right hand, he reveals his dirty clothes, his swollen ankles, and a set of handcuffs fixing his wrist to the metal frame of the bed, which is actually also the only piece of furniture in the whole room. In addition to the clear allegations of torture and abuse, the young man's account appears to provide evidence that despite China's insistence that most re-education camps have been closed, Uyghurs are still being detained in significant numbers. Non-independent monitoring groups or media have not been allowed in, and private communication with the outside world is totally restricted. Any attempt by foreign countries or international institutions to shed light on whatever is happening there are seen by China as interference into a domestic matter. The point is, we don't need to look too far into our past to understand what all of this can lead into. I invite you to do your research, find out more about this topic, and whenever possible, just try to share information with people around you, because it is important to at least have a dialogue about this topic. Thank you for your attention.